Let's try to make something more complicated this time. Yes, I'm building a drone. It's based on the Flix drone project I found on GitHub. It's an excellent project with detailed documentation and active support. I was confident enough to start building the hardware first by ordering a custom PCB to fit all the components. My goal was to simplify the assembly of the drone, since the Flix documentation consists of soldering wires to SMD components and a lot of 3D printing and gluing parts together. Looking at the proposed schematic, it should be easy to fit all the components into a drone-shaped PCB, which can be assembled by a PCB manufacturer. My version of the drone will have the female headers to support the Sprig C3 ESP32 microcontroller, since I have a lot on hand. Not only that, but the Sprig has an integrated battery management system, so this drone will not over-discharge the battery, and with the fuel gauge IC, I will have accurate battery level measurements. Here you can see me placing the most expensive component first, the IMU. The Flix project supports several IMUs, but I went for the ICM20948, because it seemed to be the most readily available one that works via I2C. It was really expensive though, and it needs a 1.8 volt supply, so I had to use a regulator. I also added some red and green LEDs to make the drone more visible at night. The LEDs needed current limited resistors, of course. The MOSFETs are high quality ones with very low on resistance, so they probably won't heat up during flight. With all the components in place, it's time to fire up my precision hot plate again. I really like how the solder paste melts and flows, moving the components into the correct places. And here's the assembled board. The only thing left now is to solder the headers for the Sprig. I could solder the Sprig directly onto the drone to save weight and space, but I'm not sure about the drone PCB yet, and I might need the Sprig for other uses in the future. For this version, I intentionally made the holes for the motors a bit larger, so that I could thicken the motors using tape to achieve a tight, consistent friction fit. Later you will see that I didn't like this solution and went for another one. Next up is trimming the motor cables because they were too long and soldering them onto the PCB. Adding a Sprig on top, we have the final look of the drone. It even has some suspension. Now I'm connecting a power cable for the first test. The LEDs light up and the Q ground control connects successfully to it.
Communication regained.
But unfortunately, we have no motor movement.
Communication lost.
After many days of troubleshooting, I decided to probe the 3.3 volt power rail with my oscilloscope to see what's wrong. I had a lot of disconnections and the IMU was drifting all the time.
Manual stabilized flight mode. Armed.
Even when idle, the supply voltage gets very noisy. And when I give it a little throttle, it cuts off. Did you see it?
Communication lost.
Watch it again. There it is. The voltage dropped to 2 volts, shutting down the microcontroller. I also had several other issues, the main one being the IMU drifting while the motors were working. This was so hard to fix that I gave up. A few months later, I decided to give it another try with a new board. This time I placed the transistors as close as possible to the motors to minimize switching noise, and added better grounding and more capacitors on the power rails. I really have to thank PCBWay for providing me with these new boards and the required stencil to assemble all the components. Thanks to their support, I'm able to give this project another try. Check out their services from the link in the description below. The process is as usual. First, I carefully apply the solder paste to the exposed parts of the board. Then I remove the stencil carefully and inspect the boards for any defects. Then it's time for placing all the components, usually starting with the smallest ones. Then I added all the capacitors. I don't know if it's overkill to add that many, but better safe than sorry. Now it's time for the most expensive one. This single chip costs more than €6 and it's the most important one because it senses how the drone is moving 500 times per second and reports it to the microcontroller so that it can compensate. For this new version, I also added a transistor to control the LEDs from the microcontroller and a main on-off switch so that you don't need to disconnect the battery all the time. This required a fifth transistor though, which didn't end up well. Now it's time for soldering again. Write me in the comments if you saw that component I forgot to add. Spoiler alert, it was the 1.8 volt regulator for the IMU. I know, I also forgot the LEDs. So the total weight of the chassis is 13.2 grams, and with the sprig on top it's close to 20 grams. Not great, not terrible. Now let's test the on-off switch and the power rails. Turning it on did not show any voltage on the multimeter on the right, so I brought another multimeter to probe the board for errors. As you can see, it took a while, but in the end I figured out I didn't connect the gate of the transistor to the switch properly. Oh no. Realizing another mistake, I added an external pull-down resistor to the gate. That should work and make the transistor open. But it didn't. Around that time I realized it was not a great feature to have this extra weight and complexity just to avoid disconnecting a battery. So the easiest fix was to solder another board bypassing the switch entirely. Fun fact, one of these two 1.8 volt regulators isn't 1.8 volt but 1.5 volt. Try to guess how much time it took me to figure that out. Anyway, now I'm soldering yet another board, this time with the LEDs and the correct 1.8 volt regulator. Let's hope it works. This time we get the 3.3 volts and the 1.8 volts for the IMU. So I guess we're okay to proceed with assembling the motors. This time they fit more tightly, with the intent to solder their casing to the plated rim of the corresponding holes on the PCB. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. For now I just used hot glue because it's faster and more temporary. Again I had to trim their cables and solder them to the PCB pads. The total weight is 40 grams without the battery. Now I'm adding the 65mm propellers that came with the motor and we're ready for testing. This time I'm using Q ground control from my laptop with a game controller for better control.
Manual stabilize flight mode.
Oh, I love the voice from the desktop app by the way.
Dissolve. Auto flight mode. Manual stabilize flight mode. Dissolve.
As you can see, it didn't go well. I didn't solder all the pins of the headers so that I could remove them if something went wrong, so I soldered them now.
Communication event.
And now the issues got multiplied. The IMU suddenly stopped working and I could not connect to the board at all. It turns out some of the pins I used were not compatible for this task. So let's really hope it works this time.
Communication event.
Nope, it didn't.
Jesus Christ.
Fortunately, I foresaw that and placed pin holes for external IMUs. Here I'm using the MPU 6050, which is much cheaper and noisier, but I know it works. I hear you asking, why didn't you select that one from the start? The answer is that this IC is discontinued, so I couldn't find it. I could only find these external modules. So let's hope this is the final test. I am really exhausted by this project. Yes, finally, it wants to take off. It took me only 5 months to get here. I won't even bother you with all the changes I had to make to the firmware to get it going. I really have to thank Oleg Kalachev, the creator of Flix, for his help with some of my issues. The thing is that Flix did not support the C3 version of the ESP32. And guess what version the Sprig C3 has? So it's safe to say that this is the first ESP32-C3 Flix drone. And it seems powerful enough to lift its own battery. So let's try with this 900 mAh one. It's not rated for high current, so I don't know if it can sustain its voltage under load.
Communication lost.
Yep, it won't. So I added another high current battery, but it's only 600 mAh.
Whoa. Wow.
Dissolved.
So after a bit of tuning, I think I'm ready for an outdoor test. As you can see, I use smaller 55mm propellers to reduce power consumption in an attempt to keep everything cooler and extend flight time. I also used the proper mission planner, the Maverick console app, from my phone to control the drone. And we have liftoff, the first flying Sprig. After 5 months of failures, I finally did it. I made my ESP32 fly. My inspector here approves. She seems scared of the drone. She should be. The propellers are a bit painful.
Whoa.
Ask me how I know. Never mind, she got used to it pretty quickly. Now I have to save the drone from my cat. The cool thing is that when the battery dies, you can just charge it through the Sprig from any USB-C cable. There's no need to disconnect it every time, although the Sprig's charging is quite slow. For this 600 mAh battery at 500 mA, it will take more than an hour to charge, and this will give you about 10 minutes of flight. Actually, let's do the math. Using the large propellers, the whole drone consumed 8 amps at full throttle. Let's say 6 amps while hovering to be safe. At 3.7 volts, which is the nominal voltage of the battery, that's 22.2 watts. The battery I'm using says it's 2.2 watt-hour capacity, meaning it can supply 2.2 watts for an hour. So that means it can supply 22.2 watts for a tenth of an hour, which is 6 minutes. In reality, the power consumption of a drone is not fixed, so I would say a realistic flight time would be 5 to 8 minutes continuously. I'm sure it can be improved with a larger battery, as the motors are more than capable of lifting one. In fact, I'm struggling to keep it level with how sensitive the throttle is. Let's do some proper testing indoors. Again, I'm using a cheap USB game controller and the desktop version of Q-Ground Control. It seems very hard to control. I tweaked the PID settings a lot to make it more stable and easier to fly, but it seems that the drone is a bit overpowered, which also makes it more difficult to fly. It's also very durable, maybe due to its small size, and because the electronics are all soldered into a single board. I also found out that filming and flying a drone at the same time is very difficult. I had to constantly adjust it so that it stays in flight and doesn't hit anything, while often checking my camera to see if it is in frame, not to mention the incredibly difficult task of focus tracking it while flying. My camera simply cannot do that, so I apologize for the footage quality. It's been a few days now, and I improved the PID tuning and my flying skills, so I'm confident enough for another outdoor test. I switched again to the smaller propellers, which make it a bit more difficult to fly, but I have more of them, so I don't care as much if I lose them. Again, sorry for the blurred footage, but I think you get an idea of how fun it is to fly this thing. I really struggle with yaw control, especially when I have to roll and yaw at the same time. It's also very difficult to fly it when it's facing me, because the roll and pitch are reversed. If only I had an onboard camera with FPV footage. That would be a nice upgrade. Speaking of upgrades, I designed and 3D printed some brackets to better hold and protect the motors, as well as a cover for the battery. The motor brackets also act as feet for the drone so that it doesn't sit on its battery. Anyway, I think that's all for now. As always, you can get all the files, hardware and code to build one yourself from the links in the description below. Thanks for watching.
Dissolve.